I never thought Barney would teach me anything at age 31, but actually he did. I hadn't intended on watching this episode. This is the first episode of the second season of Barney and Friends. But as I mentioned in my previous Barney video, I'm watching a lot of the shows that I grew up with, shows that I loved, to see how they hold up now that I'm, an adult and not meant to watch them. And after I watched that first episode of the first season, I kind of couldn't stop thinking about it because it just filled me with so much nostalgia and so much happiness. And I thought, well, I don't really have the time to watch every single episode at the moment, so I'm going to just watch the first episode of each season to see how the show progresses, to see what it's like as it kind of goes through the seasons. And I thought, well, let's go to the second season, and it's definitely not as good as the first episode of the first season, and I have specific reasons for that, and I'll talk about that, but it definitely has its benefits. The thing that Barney taught me is that autumn is actually a word in America. At least it was in 1993 when this came out. I genuinely was under the impression that fall was the only word for autumn in America, whereas autumn is, of course, what we call it in the UK. But no, apparently the words are interchangeable in America, or they were, 30 years ago. If you are American, I'd love to know, do you use the word autumn often, aside from, British vocabulary infiltrating American vocabulary the way it does vice versa? Or is it not something that's ever mentioned now? I'd love to know, but certainly Barney taught me that, and I was rather pleased because the title, Falling for Autumn, as as much as I like the play on words there, I kind of thought, hang on, this is an American show and it's got autumn in the title. So definitely a bit of education for me there. And what I'll do is what I did with the first episode, and I will just go through it chronologically of everything that happens and what I think about these things, both as an adult and how I would have found them as a child. So there will be spoilers throughout this. I don't remember this episode. To be honest, I don't remember any specific episode of Barney. I used to watch it a lot, but for whatever reason, just there are no very vivid memories, apart from the I Love You song, which always makes me well up. It definitely means a lot to me. But this episode starts off, actually, it started off great. It started off with the kids outside, and there was this character in a wheelchair, and I thought, oh hey, they're getting a bit of inclusivity in here. And then after about 3 minutes, the child in the wheelchair left. It made me laugh for the wrong reasons. I just thought, oh, so you're getting rid of the child in a wheelchair within the first couple of minutes. So I'm keen to see how that develops as I go through the seasons, to see if they do get more inclusive with children who have disabilities or handicaps or anything like that, or if they're just using the children who they can more easily teach to dance and, manipulate to fit the episode. We'll see how that goes, but it made me laugh for the wrong reasons. It starts off actually with them making beanbags out of socks and scooping beans in. I thought, great away, that's something that children can replicate at home, making your own beanbags to do beanbag tossing. Absolutely great. And then we learn when Barney comes along that he's going to help them prepare for their school fall festival. And everything that happens hereafter is autumnal or fall themed. And we do have a couple of songs in this, but I only recognised one song, which I'll mention in a moment. Which is weird because in the very first episode, I think I knew every song. I know there was one that they did with Fancy Dress that I didn't recognise, but other than that, they were all songs that I knew. And I don't know if these are just songs that I've never heard of because maybe they never came to the UK that much, or if they were created for the show. If anybody can corroborate, please feel free to let me know. I'm really keen to know if I'm just unaware of them, or if Barney had started to create songs for the show. They're complimenting each other's clothing when they're discussing what they wear when it's autumnal, which I thought was a really nice thing to encourage children to do. And then, much to my surprise, we get Baby Bop. And I believe Baby Bop came into it halfway through season 1, but obviously she wasn't in the first episode. She's eating apples. There's an opportunity to count fruit and to sing a song about apples and bananas. I didn't really care for the song very much. And then the children do some crafts, making art out of leaves and fruit, kind of like potato prints, but fruit prints, which again is something that can be replicated at home. It's something a lot of children can do. Go in the yard, go out in the street, grab a leaf and make your own art. It's creative, It's fun. Most children will have the ability to do that. So it's definitely something they can replicate at home, which is something I'm learning is a great thing about Barney. And a lot of children's kind of preschool shows is that once they finish watching the episode, they can do the things in it. And a lot of the second half of the episode focuses on outdoor games. Things like a well, it's an egg and spoon race, but it's a peanut and spoon race, which I thought was definitely a lot less messy than an egg and spoon race. And a couple of other outdoor games encouraging physical activity. Again, it's something that children can generally do at home on their own, or with their friends or whatever. And definitely something that's healthy and interactive and a lot of fun. So it's got a lot going for it. I just feel like it maybe wasn't as interesting as the first episode of the first segment. I don't really know why. I just feel like maybe it wasn't as bright and colourful, which, because it's autumnal, a lot of the colours are autumnal, so that makes sense. But I just feel like the other one was more engaging. Oh, and the song that I recognised was Twinkle Twinkle Little Star. Genuinely the only song in this. I think there were maybe four other songs, and I didn't recognise any of them. So if you do know whether they were created for the episode, or if I've just never heard of them, I'm very keen to know. But honestly, and then we got to the end, of course, and we sang the I Love You song. I say we sang because, of course, I sang along with it. I can't help it. My father used to sing it to me, and then I think we used to sing it at my like toddler group. It's a nursery before the year you go to nursery, so it's like a pre-nursery kind of thing. And we used to sing it there, as far as I remember. So the memories there are so powerful, or at least the feeling of nostalgia. So I think every Barney episode is going to end on a positive note for me. But I'm really keen to see kind of how it progresses as the seasons go on. There are an awful lot of seasons. According to Wikipedia, there were 14 seasons. It ended in 2010, so I imagine that things are going to change quite a lot over that space of time. Not only the children, but hopefully they're going to become more inclusive. They're not going to kick the kid in a wheelchair out within the first 3 minutes. Which, I mean, maybe that child in a wheelchair appeared in previous episodes in the first season, and he's got more inclusive, or it was more inclusive for him. I don't know, but either way, it was an odd moment because I celebrated immediately. I thought, fantastic, a child in a wheelchair. They're gonna, have more inclusivity in the second season. And he went home. It's like, oh, okay, so maybe that's not what's going on. But we'll see how that develops. Keen to see what happens with it. The nostalgia, even though the memories are not specific, the nostalgia is so powerful, and it just fills me with so much childlike happiness. Even if I don't recognise the songs, it put a smile on my face. Really keen to see what the show has in store going forward.